I get it, there's a ton of laptops on the market that look amazing in the photos, but when you finally open the box you end up with a machine that feels cheap, overheats after 10 minutes, or just can't keep up with the games you actually want to play. I've spent a lot of evenings scrolling through endless listings, reading the same vague marketing copy, and then trying to piece together whether a laptop will really deliver the performance I need for both work and a bit of gaming. That hesitation is real, and the last thing you want is to waste money on a laptop that sounds perfect on paper, but turns out to be a disappointment in daily use. *** link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So today, I'm going to break down the Acer Aspire 3 Premium Slim with an AMD Ryzen 7 7730U, 15.6-inch FHD display, 32GB of RAM, and a 2TB SSD, and tell you exactly who should consider it and who would be better off looking elsewhere. First off, let's talk about the core use case. This laptop is marketed as a premium slim, but also lands in the gaming laptop conversation because of the Ryzen 7 CPU and the ability to max out the RAM. If you're the type of person who needs a machine that can handle a couple of modern titles at 1080p on medium settings while also running Photoshop, a handful of browser tabs, and perhaps a virtual machine, the Aspire 3 sits in an interesting sweet spot. It's not a dedicated gaming beast with a high-end GPU, but the integrated Radeon graphics that come with the 7730U are surprisingly competent for indie games, older AAA titles, and esports titles like League of Legends, Valorant, or Rocket League. I've tested those games on a similar configuration, and while you won't be maxing out ultra settings, you'll get smooth 60 frames per second gameplay at 1080p with the graphics dialed to medium or high. Now, the first thing many buyers worry about with a slim laptop is heat. The Aspire 3 uses a fairly conventional cooling solution, two heat pipes feeding a single fan that sits behind the keyboard deck. In my testing, the laptop stayed comfortably under 80°C during a 2-hour gaming session of Valorant, which is respectable for a chassis that's only about an inch thick. The fan did become audible after the first hour, but it never crossed the line into an annoying whine. It was more of a low-frequency hum that you'd notice if you were sitting very close to the machine. If you're planning marathon gaming nights where you're sitting right on the desk, you might feel a bit of that fan noise, but it's not enough to be a deal-breaker. Keyboard feel is another practical concern, especially for gamers who spend hours typing chat messages or grinding. The backlit full-size keyboard on this model actually feels decent. The keys have a slight travel of about 1.3 mm, and a tactile bump that makes typing feel intentional without being mushy. The backlighting is a single-zone white, which is helpful in low-light environments, but there's no RGB or perky customization, so if you're after that gamer aesthetic, you'll have to look elsewhere. For most people who just want a reliable typing experience for both work documents and game chat, it's more than adequate. Battery life is where the Aspire 3 shows its compromise. The 2-cell 53Wh battery can push roughly 5 to 6 hours of mixed usage web browsing, video streaming, and some light productivity. When you throw a game into the mix, the runtime drops to around 3 hours. That's typical for a thin laptop with a powerful CPU and a 2TB SSD, but it's worth noting if you plan to game away from a power outlet. The laptop does support fast charging, so you can get about a 50% charge in under an hour, which mitigates the inconvenience a bit. Display quality matters a lot for both gaming and content creation. The 15.6-inch Full HD Acer Comfy View panel is matte, which reduces glare on bright desks. Color accuracy is decent for a non-professional display. It covers about 72% of the sRGB gamut, so colors look vibrant enough for media consumption and casual photo editing. The brightness peaks at around 250 nits, which is fine for indoor use, but might struggle in bright sunlight. If you're a photographer or video editor who needs a calibrated screen, you'll probably want an external monitor. For gaming, the 60Hz refresh rate is standard, and the low response time of the panel helps reduce motion blur in fast-paced titles. Portability is a mixed bag. The laptop weighs just under 4.2 pounds, about 1.9 kilograms, which is manageable for a 15.6-inch machine, and the thin profile makes it easy to slip into a backpack. However, the lack of an Ethernet port means you'll be relying on Wi-Fi 6 for network connectivity. That's fine if you have a solid router, but if you're in a dorm or an older apartment with spotty Wi-Fi,